Okay, so a little bit about me. I went through Stanford's product design program. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's a combination of mechanical engineering and design, and then I also did developmental psychology. Besides that, I've always worked with the special needs population in one way or another. I was an interpreter for a deaf professor throughout college, a TA and interpreter. I've worked at the California School for the Blind, the American School for the Deaf, pediatric wards, just sort of stuff like that I've done since I was a kid. I'm a professional product designer. Before starting this company, I was a designer for Pottery Barn. Well, Pottery Barn for a long time, doing all their food and bar stuff, so anything you would have given or gotten as a wedding gift, I probably designed. And then Pottery Barn Kids before that, and then a toy company before that. So that's sort of, and then I've done design for a million other things as well, but that's sort of the main job that I've had. I also teach product design at Stanford in the same program that I went through. I teach, and currently I'm teaching ME 101, which is basic mechanical engineering and product design, visual thinking, building crazy machines on a film core, stuff like that. You find a little icon, you're like, okay, here we go. And also those little folded things down at the end of the table are full skill guides that have all the subcategories, all the very clear definitions. We also have the technical definition versions, but these are the ones that are for the parent. We're like, okay, midline integration, think Saturday Night Fever, it's crossing the midline. You know, like we're giving you examples in English, so that we're trying to bridge that communication gap. Our game booklets that come in all the toys, again, help with that, explaining those. And then we have a newsletter that goes out, which is an email newsletter, that also has game ideas, child of the month that we spotlight sometimes, people ask questions. We always have an article about our occupational therapist on something, whether it's gross motor skills or back to school, how to make back to school easier, or Thanksgiving activities, whatever it is. And we have 10 of these little icons, each with, and 40 subcategories. So if you want to know anything you want to know about skill development, it's in that little packet. Okay, time for the toys. Bumpity blocks I kind of already went through, so you guys have seen these. The addition to these is that they also have downloadable tanagram type puzzles on the website at 4-block and 8-block versions, so that, again, you can grow with them. Snapbacks. So these are the typical beanbags that we all played with as kids, but obviously they have numbers and shapes, so you can do all sorts of categorization and sorting and teams and all that stuff with them. But you can also work on your fine motor skills with the snapping. The plastic snaps are actually the old ones. There's one set with metal snaps, which are the new versions. There they are. Okay. They're also great for throwing and catching. They're much easier to throw and catch when you put two together than a ball or a beanbag. And feel free to throw them around or throw them at each other. So if you're learning to throw or catch, it makes it a lot easier. They couldn't stack them. So we're like, well, that's pretty pathetic to be using full cereal boxes, creative, but that's sad. We can do better than that. So we added weight to blocks. Then we put this really grippy texture on them. Now the texture is also just really cool, and kids don't really notice that it's any different, but all of a sudden, can you pass me a few more blocks? Thanks. All of a sudden, your blocks can, you add a little texture, you add a little weight, and you can build ridiculously crazy things where people think they're magnetic, and you can just go as high as you want, and it's not a big deal. So typically developing kids are just like, awesome, I can go big. Kids with special needs can all of a sudden use blocks for the first time. Everybody's happy. So these are the bumpity blocks. We also, kids with autism tend to line things up over and over again. It's called stimming or self-stimulatory behavior. It's the same idea as like when you see people flapping their hands or watching things spin. It's that same concept. So we wanted to prevent that and make kids actually interact with them, which is why they're all funky shapes. You can't just line these up, they don't go anywhere. Like there's no right way to do it. So that's what that's about. So basically the idea is that we go in, we look at this uncertainty and these patterns, we figure out what people are doing, what workarounds they're creating, and we make it better somehow. So our design principles, as opposed to the universal design principles, everything's universally designed, as I just mentioned. Everything is inclusive design, which is actually kind of a misleading term because it's often interchangeable with universal design. What I mean by that is we're including kids with special needs and typically developing kids together and leveling the playing field.